before we turn our unit on, we want to be sure that we go through and make sure that all of our unions are tight so that we don't have any leaks once we start up. If we find any that seem to be loose throughout, we might want to go back and just snug those just a little bit more. Remember, we're sealing on and O-ring on the union, so we don't have to crank on it too much. We're just going to tighten that up, make sure everything is tight before we enable this system. Okay, we're getting really close to starting the unit. At this point, we just turned the power on. The unit is still in the off position. We've made our calculations and we've programmed in our critical starting information into our dialog. What we're going to do now is take a minute to prime the pump. We're going to fill our calibration column. Right now, we have the calibration column closed. We're going to fill that with some mineral oil. Just enough to prime up the pump. We're going to use our ball valve we have here right before our injection valve. We need to catch that, and we're going to use the priming feature on our pump. So we're going to start that prime. We're going to hold that button in for a minute or so to start that, and we're going to give it a few seconds. We're going to come over, we're going to open that ball valve, and we're going to continue to let that pump run, if we have to increase that time, until we get some of our mineral oil coming out of our ball valve. Once we have that mineral oil coming out, we can close that ball valve. We can reduce that time and let the pump stop. We want to clean up that little bit so we don't have mineral oil dripping. Now what we can do is we should be ready to close the mineral oil back up. We're going to open up our supply, whether we have a tank or a tote. We're going to open that up, make sure that our ball valve on the outlet is closed, or I'm sorry, open. We're going to open the needle valve on the primary dilution water as far as we can. Okay, we're going to let as much water flow through there as we can to be sure that we're filling up this mixing chamber. Again, we want to be sure that that mix chamber is full to hydrate our mechanical seal so that we don't overheat that mechanical seal and cause it to leak. For our example, we're going to use the system start switch just to the on position, and we have the Polymer pump switch in the local selection. So once I turn this unit to on, because we just turned the power on, it's going to do a fill cycle. What we're going to do is we're going to pay attention to that time, and we're also going to watch on the exit of the dilution water. We're going to watch the static mixer to make sure that when we're getting down to a very low value on that timer remaining, that we don't have a lot of air bubbles continuing in the static mixer. If we still do, and that's close to, we're going to stop the unit. The easiest thing is to cycle the power again. So we turn the power to off. Once we turn it back on, we can re-enable the system. It'll do that fill time all over again for us. So we'll see once we turn the unit on, it's going to open our solenoid valve. It's going to allow that water to fill in. Remember, we're running as much water into the mixing chamber as possible. We're watching our static mixer. We have a good static mixer. There's not a lot of air bubbles. So once that fill time counts down, it's going to start the mixer motor, and it's going to start dosing our polymer into our process at the speed that we determine. Now that the mixer motor has come on and we're dosing our polymer, it's important that we adjust our flow rate down to what we determined that flow needed to be with our calculations. We can see that value on the flow meter. We're adjusting that to whatever value we determine. If we need the post dilution, we can open that up slowly now. And this unit is now producing the polymer concentration that we used in our calculation.